whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space, and Jeff Bezos, go, never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Boom! Come on, girlfriend. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner and 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online program in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Care, and also co-sponsored by DAD, Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization. And I am the board chair. I am the global chair. I am the chair. I'm the board chair. That's what I am. I'm the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we're broadcasting live on August 7th. I'm here live in Toronto, hot, hazy, humid again, Toronto. But it's a Saturday night, and you know what time it is? Tell me, do you know? There's an old song. Do you know what time it is? Tell me, do you know? I'm not gonna, the only place I sing, by the way, is in the shower by myself, in the car by myself, because I don't got the vocal prowess of Jill Jones. So let me bring up our two wonderful ladies, Jill Jones, Aisha K. Staggers, State of Things with Aisha. Jill, how we doing, ladies?
Good. Hanging in there.
Good. Aisha, you're on mute. What's going on? There we go.
Okay.
Was my singing so bad you had to put yourself on mute?
No, I was just out giving a show for all of my neighbors sitting on my deck before this.
Excuse me.
Good.
And what was
in a good way?
I was sitting there just singing along.
Oh,
and
nice.
On my playlist.
What were you singing, and what was on the playlist?
I had some throwbacks. I went back to Pebbles, Giving You the Benefit.
Woo. Any Mercedes Benz?
I played Mercedes Boy. Yep.
Mercedes Boy.
And I played, who else did I have on that list? I had Mariah Carey's new song with Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam.
Yeah.
I sang a little Jill Jones in there.
Oh,
Marie up in the mix.
So you know, that's another idea. I think we should do. Each one should create a playlist.
Oh yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I like doing playlists.
I think we should
have fun with them.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe this month or starting next month, we should share with our community our monthly playlist.
Yeah, I'm cool. That sounds like a great idea.
We got and maybe invite our family to share their playlists too.
I know.
That would be fun.
That's great.
Fun.
Well,
ladies, go ahead.
My middle sister, I wrote an article about her back in 2011 because we were riding in the car one day and I asked her, play some hype music, something to get us going.
Mm-hmm.
And she played a slow song. She played a slow Elton John song.
Oh,
wow.
And I looked at her side-eyed and everything. And I was like, so this really gets you going? This is what gets you started for the day? I mean,
wow. We gotta.
We're gonna a lot about people.
Yeah, we gotta do that for September, and I invite everyone to give their monthly playlists. But I'm just remembering songs like I'd love to put some Karen White on there.
Oh yeah, I love Karen White.
And I've had a chance to meet Karen White, and also, what's the lady's name? Oh, I can't remember. There's so many. Sherelle, I'd like to put on some
Yes. Sherelle
Sherelle.
and Pebbles are cousins. So I went from Sherelle to Pebbles,
Okay.
and that's how I got there. Yeah, but I
Okay.
played all the ladies today.
Okay. All right. Okay. So there's another idea we're looking at, our motivational playlist, our monthly motivational playlist. I like that. I like that. Well, people aren't here to hear music or
I
talk
know.
I know.
but we're gonna slip it in there. We're gonna slip it in there. So let's shout out some of the community. Jen Myers, hello. You're already here in the room. Thank you. Black Beauty. It's time to vibe with Aisha, Jill, and Dr. Vibe. I like that, Black Beauty. That's beautiful. And Blue Rains, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back in. Well, ladies, it's not getting any quieter, and I thought summer's a quieter time. No?
August normally is very
Yeah.
chilled out. I think
Yeah.
I enjoy August because it's the last month of the summer typically, but things just haven't really been normal in any capacity this year or last year. It's crazy.
Before we get into our stories tonight, do you notice a lot of people going on trips, vacations now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. People are talking about, traveling and what venue they want to see, even just going to the movies. I think it's kind of ridiculous that you have these movie theaters now putting some of these big box office pictures just, in the theaters. Like the Aretha Franklin Respect is only going to be shown in theaters. And
Is
I'd
it?
like to see it, but I am not sitting in a crowded theater.
So let's talk. Well, so let's talk about that movie. Is Jennifer Hudson the right person to be casted the lead?
Yeah, she's who Aretha handpicked.
Okay, say no more.
Oh yeah. I mean, if that's who. Yeah.
That's
Then that's that.
That's
If
that's
she handpicked her, then
Yeah.
that's fine.
okay.
And the song, the singing is, I listened to some of the songs and that she's recreated. The singing is fabulous.
Okay.
She might win another Emmy for this.
Mhm.
Wow.
It's true.
Well, Blue Rains is saying, I'm not going to anyone's theater. There you go. So Aisha, you got company, not going to anyone's theater. So as we talk about that,
Right.
over the last few weeks, we were talking about the CDC and finally the housing more, I can't say the word. Jill,
Moratorium.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
Moratorium.
recommend, but they also recommend masks be worn indoors in most of the US. So we were talking about this over the last few weeks, why it took so long or what was taking. It finally got done, I think, the Monday after our last conversation. How we feeling about that? And what do you feel about, what does it tell you what they think about the next little while with COVID, with masks having to be wear indoors? Like with us up here in Toronto, indoor stores, everyone still has to wear masks.
Well, I find that I think that American people are really so ignorant on this whole thing. And I'd say the majority of American people, I think that people haven't been paying attention as much. I mean, they're not very flexible here. We've suddenly realized just how inflexible American people are, how rigid, how they don't want to change, how they don't really want to make sacrifices for anything. For the majority of people, it looks like that. And it's unfortunate and paranoid. Let's not forget how paranoid they are. And I think that came from, being the king of the hill for so long in this country. They think everyone's out to get them because they're American. Ain't nobody checking for us these days, guys. Ain't nobody across the globe checking for the morals, the values, the views, the perspectives of American people. Maybe they're still checking for some music, but even that's going out the wayland, because the top 40 is so disconnected with what's happening in real life that it really says a lot about our collective in this country. I think the CDC coming out and saying this, on one hand, they've held the CDC's feet to the fire, going back and forth. But let's remember that these people in America don't believe in science. So why all of a sudden do they care about holding the CDC to science, which is always an ever-changing process? It always changes. That's how science is. And that's where the rigidity and the inflexibility of the people why it's very hard to move forward. People should have always been wearing masks consistently. The mask is really out of, when I used to go to Japan, you wore a mask when you were sick to protect other people from catching your germs. Now, that seemed to be a very difficult concept for people to adjust to. And then I have to wonder if the people here aren't just stupid, because it's not going to, we have social distancing, but and all of these things, but nothing was ever on the same page. When COVID first came out, I took the course at Johns Hopkins. There was a plan. The plan was to deal with contact tracing, was to allow that to go forward. But everybody in America was afraid of, their private rights and all this stuff. And, I've recently come into contact with people who have this horrible illness. It is not to be played with. It is definitely dangerous AF. And if you are living alone, if you do not have families, if you do not have a support system, all of that was being covered by the CDC had a plan. And this plan was to have different groups in every state area that would help facilitate your quarantine. People checking on you, calling you, making sure you had your groceries, making sure you didn't leave your house to go out and spread it even more. But now, because every state decided to politicize it and go willy-nilly, you have people who have to go down to get their mail, and they have to do X, Y, and Z. These were things that were implemented, procedures, and American people on it for the most part. Trump's American people didn't think that that was worth it. And I'm sorry, we should have never let it get that far. And I think that it's really, really, it's important that people wear masks. What should be worrying people now are the states like with DeSantis, who are not giving federal money to the schools that wanted to mandate masks for children. And yet he would give it to the schools that just let everybody be mask free. The reality is America hates its children. The Trump people hate children. They hate them. Talk about the group of people who want to eat babies for breakfast. That's them. They always pointed the finger about everybody eating kids and everything. These people love death. They love it. I'm telling you, I think they do rituals there must be a silent group that they all go out, and every time there's a group of people that die or are sick, they make an homage to like Baal, the god of death or something. Because I'm telling you, I'm being a little bit exaggerative about it, but on a certain level, there's a sickness with them, a sickness. You cannot want to have your children going to school without masks and teachers vaccinated. I've said it before about the damn teachers. They weren't happy during COVID because some of them weren't protected. And then when we get the vaccine, then you got the rest of them who don't want the shot. So you're fired. Okay, bye. Go find another job, teach online, do whatever you want. But enough of it. If you don't want the vaccine, stay home. Figure out a way to make a living. Prostitute online. Create a for fans only file. Whatever you got to do. But they've really, they're expecting science to do something, a science that they don't believe in. And this is too much. It's too much to let the ignorant control the level and consciousness and the collective of this country. For me, history will look back very unkind about this, about those who stood by and allowed it. This is out of order. My take. The CDC is right. Wear it indoors.
I just want, before you start, sorry to interrupt. So Blue Rains has said, wearing masks has become so politicized. Well, I responded to him in the comments. Everything in America has become politicized. Cinema Canella, hey. She goes, I wish I could send you a video of my trip to the grocery store yesterday. Counted 10 persons without masks.
They're oblivious.
Jen is saying, here in Ohio, the COVID numbers are going up again. We have to wear masks at work again. I am glad about that. Of course, others are complaining. Black Beauty is saying, it makes me so sad that our country is so backwards on masks and COVID-19. It's just sad. And Jen is also saying there is some, I asked her about, is there pushback from anti-vaxxers in Ohio? She said there is some in the news and some that I've heard personally. I feel masks are important.
Yes, she's right. They
Yeah.
are.
I mean, so many things about this. The first is that the CDC recommendation on masks being worn indoors in most of the USA is not just like 60% of the country. It's like 98.5% of the country that they recommend it for. For example, there's only a small little part of California that they don't recommend it for. My state's only but so big. They recommend it for the whole state. Okay. So it's really to me, we were in the worst possible leadership for something like this to happen. And they threw out the pandemic plan that had been there in case something like this happened. They threw that out. But
they did.
What we cannot have is a states' rights issue, a states' rights practice of solving a pandemic when it's a national problem.
Absolutely.
And people
Thank
are
you
traveling
for saying that.
intrastate.
Thank you.
What we need is the federal government to step up and say, forget states' rights. This is a national problem. And so as a nation, this is the order. Right. Because states think that they exist within themselves, but then they want to be American. Either you're going to be a Floridian or you're going to be an American.
Oh, no. They have no problem taking the money, the federal money.
Well, that's my other part. That's my other piece of this too, is that I went and looked at this money that they have reserved. The first thing, when the CDC did the rent moratorium, redid it, they needed to do it in partnership with HUD. Because HUD gave the money to this, they got the money for the states from HUD. So they needed to work in partnership so that the landlords know to go after these people holding the money hostage. They're coming to the renters who can do nothing really when they're stuck. So go to those people. But what HUD should have done was reevaluated the funds that they gave to the states and said, look, you have till this date to spend it. You have to spend it on this specifically. It cannot go anywhere else. It cannot sit in the pot. And if you don't, we are going to take money from somewhere else that you like. And period. Because money talks with these people. And that's the only thing that would have gotten them to the point that they would at least make a move towards doing something. Because right now, letting governors make the decisions, they're banning mask requirement.
But here's the thing. It makes me think that the Constitution is a worthless piece of POS. It's garbage.
Well, we'll have to talk another day because our Constitution really needs revamping.
It totally does. This thing is it's useless. It's done nothing to protect those of us who once believed in it. It's a joke. It's like the biggest freaking joke. And there's nothing you can do to tell me. They can't even, work out how to enforce anything. Nothing's enforceable. And yet they give money, they pass laws, and either the Democrats are as dumb as rocks, or, you should know the demon you're dealing with. When you're making a deal. You've got, but it's like they have no street smarts. They haven't figured out, we'll put a little caveat on the back of that end if you don't use the money by X date. But no, they get outsmarted each time. And this is starting to be a really, really unforgivable situation. We're dealing with crooks. And if the Democrats can't rise up and understand how to be streetwise savvy or hustlers themselves, then they don't need to have the job because the whole criteria has changed on this. They don't know how the game is being played. And unfortunately, they're not up to snuff. Those old dogs got to go because they don't know the turf around here. And it's time to get people in who know the turf and know how to play it, which is why I was upset that Nina Turner didn't get voted in. But that's another day, another topic for another day. We need new dogs on this turf.
one of the things, you're on mute, Dr. Vibe. You're on mute, Dr. Vibe.
I know. Jen Myers is also saying, I'm also seeing people's Facebook posts where they're put out in large groups of people, close proximity, no masks, ridiculous. And Black Beauty is saying, spot on, Aisha and Jill. Aisha?
Yeah. I watched the men's finals in basketball, and they were showing outside Milwaukee, outside the stadium.
Right.
And none of those people had on masks. They were standing this close together.
The NBA finals.
It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, never mind super spreader event. That was a super spreader event. It's like, American people lack patience. Okay. Everybody wants to be.
You're being kind, because Jill, I know. Yeah. Jill, that's kind.
lacking that patience for wanting immediate gratification all the time. A pandemic it's what it is. A pandemic means that something takes over, an illness takes over for a period of time. You don't know what the period is going to be, but the fact that people would rather risk their lives, the lives of children, the lives of their family. I was reading on Twitter today when a grandmother said that her grandson refuses to get vaccinated.
I saw that.
Refuses to get vaccinated, refuses to wear a mask, and she's going to have surgery in October, but he wants to visit her. And it's like, no. He's like, the nurse in me says no. And my response was, you obviously wanted freedom from the guilt. So I'm going to tell you straight up, no. But the thing of it is that masks got politicized because someone else didn't like how they looked in one. He should have been wearing one because he's ugly anyway. Yeah. He should have been hiding his face. He should have been hiding his face out of just sheer embarrassment for the job that he was doing. Masks, and here's the thing. If you are in a state like Connecticut in the wintertime, wearing masks was great because it kept your face warm. So people want to be anti-something. People are like, oh, I'm so tired of this. I just want to go out and be free. Well, guess what? With a mask, no one is really stopping you from doing anything. These close contact, wanting to be in a crowd, why would you want to be in a crowd of that many people anyway? Because forget just COVID, there's the flu, there's all kinds of viruses and things like that. It's like, you know what? You're protecting yourself from a whole lot of things. And coming this fall, this fourth wave coming through is really going to tear people's lives apart. Because guess what? If you don't want a mask for COVID, and that means you're not going to be protected from the flu this season like you were last year, my heart does not break for you, because you will have the COVID pneumonia and influenza at the same time, and you will likely die.
Well, Jen is saying exactly, Aisha, the mask did help keep my face warm in the cold months.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So the mask, well, obviously, folks, is going to continue on because the numbers are going up in America. They're not going down.
No, they're not.
They're not going down. And it's, I don't even want to
We have a shout out to Sue Ann, who worked with, is from the whole Minneapolis crowd and everything, and she has COVID, so I'm wishing her good health and speedy recovery.
Suann Carwell.
So, yes.
Wow.
So she made an announcement on her Facebook page. So.
Oh my gosh.
I hope it does the Biden administration no justice to not do a federal lockdown. Because things, what are we going to do? We're not seeing the numbers anymore of people dying. What are we going to do? Wait till the numbers start creeping in the 20,000s per day again, and then lock it down now, because they don't know which variant it is anymore.
Yeah, there's
Lock it
over
down.
250 variants anyway, and that's just from people that I know who are medical professionals telling me so. That's what they have identified globally. They're only looking at the tracking mechanisms, I believe, because of travel and sort of making an assumption. But they really don't know if a person has Delta until they're officially in the hospital, because that's when they get the proper blood tests. And FYI, for people out there taking rapid tests, they're not that accurate all the time. So don't be fooled. And that's the other problem that we have, the efficacy of the tests, because the testing, especially of the rapid test, has given people a false sense of security. And 4 out of 5, or what did they say? 1 out of every 4 tests conducted is inaccurate and is not capturing. A lot of times people also aren't showing up right when the symptom, it's just not, the efficacy is wrong. And they should have never created a convenient test for people, because you have a bunch of people walking around that don't know they have COVID, and they're just spreading it even more. But they should pull all rapid tests off the market, because they're not 100%. It is the PCR test is the only one that will tell you accurately what you have or don't have.
Yeah. And it's like, why are we holding on to the rapid test? That was a failure of the Trump administration.
If it worked, then when you fly to another foreign country, it would be sufficient enough for them to trust it. And they don't. When you fly to like another country, you do a test here saying so you can get your on the plane, but just to get into the country, they're going to do another test. And that's why they want you to quarantine for 10 to 14 days when you travel, because they're doing PCR tests. And if your stuff isn't correct, you could end up spending your whole time on your vacation in a quarantine situation with COVID.
And I don't
waiting, and you may not have the funds to do it. So this is this is why I don't think the rapid test, it's just a push that the airlines, they made convenient for travel, but it could get you into a lot of trouble if you're using a rapid test.
And that's the asterisk to this whole situation, is that the only reason the country opened up as quickly as it did and as much as it did is because businesses wanted it to. The lobbyists for the businesses wanted it to, and put the pressure on to open up.
On our politicians,
the pressure on the politicians. But the sad fact is they did it on the backs of Americans and on people's lives.
Yeah, they have.
But the airline and travel industry especially.
What a disgusting job to have as a lobbyist. It's kind of disgusting. It's about as bad as, it's very ghoulish, especially during COVID. It's a ghoulish profession, because there are people who lobby for good. But when you look at these kind of lobbyists, it's ghoulish, because people have actually made money from stocks. They've made money from different measures. And I have told everybody once that when I was a young woman, I was sitting in a hotel.
You're still young, by the way.
I remember these old men were showing some paintings.
Both of you,
in
by
this
the
one
way.
room. Thank you. And an old man about the age of 70 told my friend, and I had a friend who was incredibly wealthy, but he was old. This other man was really old. And he goes, young lady, you need to take your money and invest it in condoms. And I looked at him, are you crazy? This was around 1981, 82. And the AIDS epidemic hadn't quite kicked in. But you know what? What was really astounding, that's how those people think. Yeah. For me, I was like, are you kidding? You're out of your mind. I'm sure that man made a ton of money with his investment in condoms. But I also remember, even though I didn't cash in or maybe it was a dumb move, all I can say is that what a ghoulish old man. And I hope he had a miserable life while he lived here, because he's probably dead now. Didn't keep him alive that long. But his kids, whoever they are, they're probably one of these disgusting people out in the world now. So what can we say?
All right, let me move it forward, because we got a number of things to chat about tonight. We could just, again, land on this. So let me just catch up.
Oh, hang
Well,
on one second. I've got to get my charger, and I don't often
no
do this very
problem.
often.
Just catch up with it. You just no problem. Blue Rains is saying, say that, Aisha. The fall is going to be a mess. Black Beauty is saying, kudos, ladies, for bringing it tonight. Knowledge is golden. Cinema says, I do not agree with lockdown. Instead, enforce the use of mass hygiene habits and physical distance again.
Well, here's what before you go to the next one.
Yeah.
Cinnamon, the reason I say lockdowns because one of the things we're learning through Twitter is that a lot of people are not taking baths or bathing regularly. So imagine this. They're taking their germy bodies outside into the world. I noticed this for my state anyway. My state was one of the first to go on lockdown in the tri-state area of Connecticut, New Jersey, New York. And I will tell you, when we went on lockdown, our rates went down drastically. And people were like, oh, why is this state's rates going? Because they locked the state down. Why did ours continue to go down? Because we were the very last state to reopen. And now that we've reopened, everything is gone to hell.
Okay, Christy White, friend of the show. Yeah, it's crazy. And also, Christy says that gentleman who are the condom investor. Yeah, smart man. Yeah, because unfortunately, we're in a system that people profit off of negativity.
They profit off of people's illnesses. I mean,
yes.
The pharmaceutical industry is so. It's a major lobby. It's got a major lobby.
Oh, and huge, big time.
And, there's no reason why I should one pack of EpiPens for me that has 2 pens and a practice pen should cost $500 for one box.
Oh my God.
And that's so worrying. That was worrying when those rates were going up. I believe we talked about it on the show. That was around the time that I think I joined up.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's a life-saving measure.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's move on to the next conversation piece. Well, the Democratic Party has a little bit of an issue on its hands. Mr. Cuomo, should he resign after another woman comes forward detailing instances of sexual harassment? I think in the last week, there was a probe released by Letitia James saying, I believe, 11 women sworn affidavits saying that Mr. Cuomo didn't really behave in the good with them, and he is staying strong, not willing to resign. I think it looks like his own party is going to have to impeach him.
Joe Biden also came out.
Yes, Joe Biden said he thinks he should resign. And then another little off on this too, I want you ladies to talk about his brother Chris being exposed as one of his brother's advisors during this. And I just read, I think that he's taking, it says, a pre-scheduled holiday from CNN. So there's a lot of fallout on this, ladies. And I also want to ask you, what impact could this possibly have if it drags out on the Democratic Party for the next midterms?
Well, on the issue of his brother Chris, I think Chris did it right by taking the time away from his job to do this on one hand, because remember, he is an attorney. And when you're like that, I guess you'll call a family attorney or what have you. So you can't really fault him for that.
Considering most attorneys are snakes. I mean, God, I wish they are. Yeah. I'd be happy to have an attorney in my family.
Exactly. And so Chris did his part really professionally by taking a leave so that he doesn't have to report it and he doesn't get caught up in that. That's the proper way to do it when you're on television, hosting a news show, and you're also still a practicing lawyer. So I think that that part isn't really so much disturbing. What is disturbing are these accusations of harassment. However, I still am trying to really dig deep on them and look and see what's behind them. But I also want to see who. And I also want to see who's behind the people who are there and if there is money involved, because it just seems to me that the two governors of two of the largest Democratic strongholds of states, New York and California, are strongly being targeted to try and get rid of them. And it's like, remember, this whole Andrew Cuomo thing was big a couple of months ago. And then it died down and we heard nothing of it. And now they're starting up again when there's about to be an election next year. And it's kind of like and they're only starting it up again, drawn toward the fall when the campaigns are about to start. That to me seems quite, there's something quite not right about that. And, Democrats have this thing of, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater and not really sticking behind. Do you know how many of these daggone Republicans have been caught positioning women in bathrooms, having sex in bathrooms and all this kind of stuff? And guess what? They still get supported and they still win races, right? We throw people out before we even know the whole story. And so it's like, find out the whole story, figure out where everything is. I want to see the money. Where's the money? Because there's something here as to why this is getting picked up again, that it didn't get picked up before. Where's the money?
Mm-hmm. Well, just before Jill comes in on it, Cinema Canal says, yes, he needs to go. Glad Sarah Lee, his last girlfriend, left just in time. Blue Rain is saying, interesting point about the governors of California and New York. Jill?
Well, I have a couple of things. Aisha definitely touched on a few of my actual opinions about it. First of all, I don't care what Andrew Cuomo has done. I actually don't believe many of the women. I worked in New York. I know the monster and I know the palette of New York. I know it's politicized on both areas. As far as, first of all, we have the progressives that want to make a move because they want to get implemented into that spot, a progressive governor. But they really truly believe, that they'll be able to do that. And then we have the Republicans who are sinking a ton of money and strategy in both LA, in California, and in New York. And so we have a situation out here with Newsom where now they dusted old Larry Elder off, and they're all trying to.
He got let in after being initially rejected.
He did, but they're all trying to pass that man off as a black man, and he's not. So that to me is crazy, but they put in a lot of money to do it. These are all Koch family funded agendas. We have never had this many people from Arkansas, who's the one who still calls himself a governor, the one who was the press secretary, Sarah
Huckabee.
Yeah, Huckabee. I think he put in so many millions of dollars. There is a very organized group of people putting pressure and money. And I believe that if they did even more investigating into the women in New York. Now, I'm not saying he didn't flirt with them, but I'm going to watch every single one of those women because I want to see where they land. There are a few that just by hook or crook are saying some craziness. And I'm like, just because you say it doesn't mean it's so. I found it very coincidental that there's a picture of Andrew Cuomo with one of the women and he's holding her by the face. You know how, as Malcolm Nance says, you know how much work goes into making something look like a coincidence? Because what coincidence that a photographer captured that picture? What is that? See,
that picture was captured on her cell phone, remember?
That somebody else took a picture of. Mm-hmm. So it was a setup from them. Like, why are you saying get a picture? Either you're saying get a picture of me with the governor because I want to prove he's a jerk, or get a picture because I like him, or maybe she was gonna like I said, I'm not saying all women are like this, but I do find the Me Too movement to have not been very fair. It had a sort of mob mentality thing of looking at both sides. I think that reflection, You know, I've had things happen to me, and I look back a little differently than I did when I was in on something. I also think that women in New York, I worked in a corporate environment, and I remember every single untalented climbing woman who should not have been in those jobs. And I know how they went in and how they knew the vibe that somebody favored them. And they just climbed on up the chart, climbed on up into the C-level executive suites. So it goes both ways. And for women to deny that there's this potential inside the body of our own gender, then we need to, I can't just jump on a bandwagon and support you, because I need to know what they did. I need to know what they're doing. You know, the dumbest thing he ever did was have a type, and, you know, also be one of those touchy-feely Italians. But I guess I'm from a different generation, but I'll be damned if I want to get on that battlefield and start tearing up the only one of the political allies and a person who was strong enough to stand up to Donald Trump. Are you freaking kidding me? On that alone, I will overlook those in a second, because the reality is they're not the priority right now. They're not. They've had ample amount of time to come up with things and to deal with this in a different way. All of a sudden, you know, oh my God, he did this to me. He did that to me. So now they'll go for civil cases. They'll go for it all. You know, they'll do whatever they have to do. And I'm so tired of it, because they're not worth it for me personally. This was a man who dealt with bodies that were actually in trucks in New York City, stacked up for weeks during COVID. And this is what we get. See, that's what he gets. I'm sorry. I don't think it's cool. And I think the two issues are different. And I don't really want to see the Democratic Party tied up about some women and that nonsense. Take it behind backstage, go talk about it, work it out privately. I don't want to know, because what they did with Al Frankel, he's out of the picture. And yes, the progressives, all these little girls are like, we want Governor Cuomo to leave. And I love the progressive girls out there, but it's not the right time. They'll learn you got to pick your battles. And maybe they'll learn when they get married and they start living a real life about there's times to cállate la boca, keep it shut for a minute. You got to play it to the end, because the problem is when someone was trying to tell me, yeah, they want to put the progressives in, right? But do you guys see who they chose? New York chose for running for mayor? He ain't progressive. No. He is not progressive. So that strategy is not going to work. So they need to the problem is get on a unified front and deal with this. But the women, we will see them in jobs later on down the line. There's already one that has a really strange affiliation. One of the first girls was from Connecticut, rich family, intern, parents are conservative. I got my own red flag. Go look at them. And was placed around 2017, 2018. Let's not forget Monica Lewinsky. She was planted too, because what kind of girl saves a dress with on it?
Well, also too, you got to remember New York's.
I mean, honestly, that's just nasty. I mean,
New York had this happen before.
Hey, dress, do you want? Look at this. What kind of girlfriend? What are they? Yeah. No way.
But remember Elliot Spitzer.
That's strange to me. Elliot Spitzer too. He was.
And the only thing that came out, the only reason Elliot Spitzer did not continue doing what he was doing, because remember, he was still sleeping with.
I mean,
the whole time. Is that
a problem?
The only reason
I know that
the only reason that he resigned as governor of New York is because a madam put that stuff out.
Yeah, it's
otherwise,
really
if she had kept it shut, he would.
But there's still plenty of madams in this,
and just being what he was.
And let me just be straight up honest right now. There's plenty of madams right now in New York that could destroy a lot of Republicans, because
in DC,
the thing is, and DC, who every time they have conventions
in every capital city,
they could turn them. But see, they get paid to be quiet too, and then it depends on who's going to pay them more. But the Republicans and their, male prostitutes that they like to see back and forth, it goes both ways. So if I were Cuomo, I'd stir it all up and throw everybody under the fire.
So if
I'm going down, just take everybody else down with you. And I don't think you should resign.
Before we go any further, again, let's The former president.
Look, he's been president a full term. What 30 some odd women?
Yeah, so, right. So to me, let's just get some. So Black Beauty laughs about Jill's statement about them trying to pass that man in Cali as a black man. And,
he's not. Larry Elder. White people, white folks in the South love Larry Elder.
Yes.
Larry, get the Negro out. Let's dust him off. Mm-hmm. I had a friend from Charleston who was just, I love Larry Elder.
Oh
yeah,
my
okay.
gosh.
Uncle Larry.
So Jill, when's the comedy tour? I'm telling you, from Lily Tomlin to Larry Elder.
Yeah, Lord.
So Christy White is saying, I completely agree that there's as many predatory women as men.
I agree.
Yeah, this one.
And these women are going for the money. Okay.
Yeah, and remember, it's not all women, but also let's be honest, some women, are tripping. One of my nephews he said he's afraid to ask women out on a date. He just said, I'm not going to. He goes, I don't even want to deal with it because women have all these really weird neuroses now. And I think the Me Too movement has had no defined boundaries on what your space is, what happens, what's a conversation, what makes you uncomfortable. I mean, there's a part of it that they have to say, if somebody asking you for directions to somewhere in a building makes you feel uncomfortable, you need to get some kind of psychological help. But we can't always see men as just the predators either. There is a problem. Some people are shook, messed up from their own childhood. But we really, until they do psychological testing and let them take lie detector tests, at this point, I don't even know what to do with, I went back to his apartment. No means no. Okay, I get it. We've all had an encounter with a guy like that. And it's not that the guy's raped. Remember Aziz Azaria or whatever? Yep. And the girl said, well, I let him have sex with me, but it was the fact that he pressured me and I didn't really want to do it. But are we supposed to be accountable for that too? It was just like, so you decided to? I'm sorry, you consented. You consented at some point, no matter how much somebody begged you on your hands and knees. I'm sorry. There's got to be some parameters. If somebody pulls me down, rips my panties off, puts their thingy, then it's rape. It's like, I'm saying no. But the minute you start sending it, and Aziz, whatever his name is, should have been like, okay, you got to go home. And then that's the danger also, because it still could have been turned into, he did this to me, and we believe it.
Right.
James Franco offered a course on how to perform a sex acts in a class. People paid for it. They knew they were going to wear damn barriers to perform things on film. And people almost dragged him forever. Why'd you sign up for the damn class?
Well, here's the other part of that is that when the Me Too movement got co-opted,
it became white women's tears, and it became
the white women's movement.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really started pushing out if a man
it became Karen Me Too's.
If a man says this to you, then that is considered sexual harassment. Absolutely. And these women may have never experienced it, but they were told, if this is that, if he does this, then that is sexual harassment.
Thank you for saying
these
that.
Women are going into these situations with all these cues. It's like, oh, he looked at me in a way that I was uncomfortable with. Is that sexual harassment? I think they say that is. Let me go check the Me Too handbook. And you know what? Here's the thing. You might just be the kind of woman that is uncomfortable when men look at you, period. You might have issues with your body. You might just be an insecure little woman.
Exactly.
I mean, that exists in this world still. And I think that the co-option of that movement and having it thrust into the feminist movement.
But they did it before, Aisha. They did it before. Bell Hooks and all of our women, Black women feminists, talk about how Gloria Steinem and all of them came in and they hijacked and co-opted the Black feminist movement. And it all became about them. And it's got to freaking stop. Women of color, all of their stuff got hijacked. And so did the Me Too movement.
We-
Alyssa Milano and all the rest of them.
We got to move on, folks, because we got a lot of topics.
Yeah.
But I think that this may be one of the topics we do a whole conversation about.
Yeah.
I think this deserves, and maybe get some other women in and let's have a roundtable panel discussion.
Yes.
On this. So
Yeah.
I think so.
Ooh, that'll be fire.
Yeah. So,
Should he resign? No.
No.
all
It's
right.
not worth it to me. If
All
he
right.
does. I don't
Chris-
want him to.
Christy makes an interesting point. Absolutely. Where is women's accountability?
Definitely.
All right.
Where is it?
Next then I think more comments are coming in. Yeah. And Christy says, absolutely roundtable.
Yeah. You got to be in on it, Christy.
Yeah.
Yes. So we got to plan that out big time. Next conversation piece. American Homeland Security warns of, quote, increasing but modest threat of violence from 45's conspiracy. Increasing but modest.
They could have kept this news to themselves. I'm like, you're not going to do anything. We already know it's an issue. We know it's going to be a bigger issue because of these hearings. But what are you going to do? Just telling us it's increasing is kind of like telling us that we're going to see an upsurge in white supremacists and you still do nothing. And the white supremacists then attack the Capitol building and you still do nothing. So why are you telling us? Just
It's kind of like being a little bit pregnant, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, it's like, what are you saying?
It's kind of like, that's a good, I mean,
Yes.
so folks, I am taking ticket sales for the Jill Jones comedy tour, really. That once, when COVID goes free, I want to be the promoter for the Jill
Yeah.
Jones comedy tour.
I
The
mean,
caveat is they should have said Homeland Security warns of increasing but modest threat of violence from the 45 conspiracy, but we're not going to do anything about it.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the craziest part about it is that they look like a bunch of punks. Homeland Security, who's running that joint? I'm telling you guys,
why is Christopher Wray still
should be
kind
fired.
of in there? He should be
he should
gone.
be fired.
Biden
And that's something
couldn't have
that I
kept
don't
him.
agree with on Biden. He really kept some real dolts in there that needed to be gone. When you clean house, I don't keep bugs around. When I clean a house, I get rid of the whole damn everything.
I don't keep bugs around. Man,
I mean,
you're in fine.
You couldn't be
You're
around
being-
when I'm moving.
you're in
I throw
fine.
everything out.
So,
Yeah.
folks, if you ever see a live conversation and I just drop down to the ground, it's because Jill Jones just like did a mama said knock you out left, right on me. You got to
It's-
get rid of the bugs. I love it.
It's just so horrendous to me. I'm just like, we're
Oh,
dealing with
Jill,
this.
Jill.
And
Oh,
it's gotten to the point where the Ashley Babbitt family has the audacity to be suing Capitol Police for $10 million of liability for wrongful death. I'm like, did you not see what we all saw and heard him say, stop? I did. But that's because we got one thing. If we ain't got nothing in this country, we got plenty of damn lawyers who will take a case. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always going to be a lawyer who's going to try it. And that needs to be stopped.
And that again is yet another Republican.
Yes.
Because they are putting money behind this. They are doing the
Yes.
movement on this, and I am absolutely certain, have pressured her parents into
The
going
woman
forward
was
with
psycho baba, like
this. She
you
wasn't.
look at-
No, she wasn't. I'm not going to give her the.
You didn't see her videos
No,
riding in her
she
car.
was-
I
her
was like,
her
oh my
videos
God.
were. Look, you can be a gun. You can be a what do they call it? A cult in like cultish without being insane. I don't want to give her the insane moniker.
Fair enough.
She was a cult bandwagon hanger on, and she let it go so far in her mind that she lost everything else. And
I forgot the guy that they've instated to go on the January 6th panel. He's a highest military clearance that he has. I forget his name, but one thing that we do know with him on the panel, he did come out and say that the big reveal is that, people have to accept this fact. Trump and his cronies committed a coup. They attempted a coup, and it has to come out. This all messing around with the Babbitt woman and all that, that's just noise. The reality is, when you wrap your mind around the fact that they don't want this man who they put on the commission, the investigation that they're really going for, I hear, is to really talk about all of the senators and congressmen on the Republican side. And he said, don't put a D or an R behind your name, because the reality is, he said, there's a lot of people, and there might be a few traitors. And when he said, don't put a D behind your name, I'm wondering if Manchin, he was inferring Manchin in that.
Cinema.
Traitor. Manchin is a turncoat.
I always believe that.
Yeah,
the other thing you have to look at too with this Ashley Babbitt thing is that would they be going after the Capitol Police had it not been a black man that shot their daughter?
She's married to a black man,
and that never stopped.
Oh wait,
any white woman from being
he's
racist.
Not black. He's not black.
Yeah,
he's something though. It ain't all white. Let's just be right about that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the
that thing right there kicks their behind in that
he
party.
said stop. The video that I saw, I heard stop, because then you could see the gun beside the door. You know what? I mean, it just was she the best soldier out there? Not that day.
Nope. And here's the thing. So, when you are Secret Service, your job is to
they don't have to tell you to even stop. They don't have to.
So coincidentally, then, any of the police that died as a result of that, should their families be suing the people who did the insurrection?
Oh, they should wipe their family out. They should wipe Ashley Babbitt's family out. They should sue them in a countersuit.
They should sue
because she tried to lead
every last one.
She tried to lead and march against those people. She was the leader of it, I guess. They should sue her family in a civil suit, and they'd probably get them. The ones who've been committing suicide and from the PTSD from whatever went on, they should sue Ashley Babbitt's family, because she took charge and she was in leadership position. She was also trained by the United States government. She was a rogue person, and she went off her game. And the reality is, they should sue them and get rid of that little company that they had and take everything that they have.
Yeah. Right. And also sue all 500 some odd people individually that have been arrested so far, and then go after Trump, Mo Brooks, what's his name from Missouri?
That's who they want.
Josh Hawley. Go after
because
Jim Jordan,
they know
all
that they were
people.
They were in planning, because they pulled that tape of Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about their planning.
Yep, and go after her too.
And loose lips sink ships. I'm glad she keeps on talking. Keep on talking, oh Marge. Go on, Marge.
All right, let's move forward. Totally, Black Beauty Singh totally agree that the senators need to be expelled. We're still stirring the coup d'etat.
Expelled. They need to be arrested.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one, because we got a long show coming up tonight. Next up, reporter kicked out of Kevin McCarthy's presser by Capitol Police at McCarthy's direction. Aisha, you brought this one up, so give us the backstory.
So this reporter asked McCarthy a question about the January 6th commission. And Kevin McCarthy didn't like being asked that question. So had Capitol Police throw this reporter out. Now, the reporter says it was Capitol Police who threw him out. They literally picked him up and dragged him out. McCarthy, however, is saying it wasn't Capitol Police. Capitol Police would never order Capitol Police to do that.
But I find this one interesting. On the 6th, the people that tried to kill the Capitol Police, and they're throwing this person out. If it was the Capitol Police, I think that's a very interesting situation.
Yeah,
that he's reporting somebody trying to get at the truth.
Right.
Bingo.
Exactly. The more they do, I'm telling you, the story starts to tell itself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It just does. And then there's no denial that the Department of Justice and everybody else needs to get on the good foot, and people who are voting. they have to be voted out. You see Lindsey Graham backtracking about how he told Trump to get about COVID, being firmer about the vaccine. You know, these people are slime.
He's only saying it now because he has
and he's
COVID.
only saying it now.
Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
it is.
Well,
because he has it.
You know, and I think something related to the last two stories. I want to know about this phone call on January 6th between, I believe it was a Jim Jordan and 45.
Guys, we've always asked ourselves this one thing.
We know they were talking about a suit jacket.
Yeah, but do you guys not remember? After the 1-6 happened, we all sat here, and one of our biggest topics was, why wasn't Trump taken to a bunker? They can't prove that. That is just protocol. That is what happened during 9/11. Where the hell was this man? You know where he was? Partying it up with his son's little party and get together.
Remember the protest, they were taken into a bunker.
But they weren't watching the stuff on the video.
They were watching it on the video.
That's
cheering it on.
That's really weird.
Why wouldn't they didn't take him to the bunker? Our president and the other group was trying to kill the vice president. So let's be really clear about this. So even if you just called up Secret Service to say, why didn't you do this? That's just why didn't you do what your protocol is? Because it has nothing to do with if Trump wanted to go or not. It is the Constitution. Our laws say that. If the country's attacked, they'll fly them to Nebraska. There's a bunker anywhere. No, not this time. So who was really running this shit? And
even Mark Meadows, his job as chief of staff was to make sure all of that was coordinated and happening if he was with the president.
But he didn't want to go. And he
didn't have to go.
He didn't have to go, but also why didn't Secret Service pick him up and take him? Because that is they override him at that point. When the country's being attacked, which the Capitol was, they override the president's wish. He doesn't get to decide that he can stay outside. That's why when Bush was reading to those little kids and basically closed the book and left, because the Secret Service came over and said, we're going. And
because remember, he did try to stay and held the book upside down. Exactly. And they were like, you got to go.
You got to go to the bunker. It is a rule.
Well, remember that time that someone fired shots outside the White House?
Yeah.
And it was nothing, but they
said he was in the bunker.
His own press conference.
Yeah.
So Blue Reigns is saying, who knows how many in Congress were in on the insurrection.
A lot of them.
Delight. And he says 45 was proudly watching it on TV.
He was. They've watched all the pictures where he was standing there with that old that girlfriend who looks like she's been squeezed. Her clothes look like she's a sausage squeezed into that Guilfoyle, whatever. Oh my God. Could she, lay off the bodycon dresses? They really, she looks like she stinks between her thighs because she's so in a tight dress.
Oh my gosh. Black Beauty is saying, yep, that's evident that the reason he wasn't taken to the bunker
anymore
because he assumed the ride on the Capitol was going to be successful. He would reign as King 45.
Exactly, Black Beauty. He was going to ride up on one of those horses.
Their main goal too was to not only get inside the building, was to mount that Trump flag on the top. They were trying to raise that Trump flag to the top of the Capitol building.
They were. That's very true.
Oh my gosh. Christy is laughing. Oh my God. She's belly laughing right now because the Jill Jones comedy tour is in full effect tonight. It's in full effect.
Kimberly Smelly Thighs Guilfoyle. She just looks nasty.
And her thighs rub together.
Girl, they do.
Ladies.
I don't even wear bodycon dresses like that anymore.
Those dresses, the funny thing about them is they're modeled after ace bandages.
Yeah, but where's she even buying them from? I mean, because most women now don't even dare. It's not even fashionable. She's just from 1980 throwback in these old crusty looking clothes. I mean, she really looks funky with those funky bad extensions. And those eyelashes.
Latina. Oh, no,
Oh,
it says that her parents came to this country, even though they're citizens from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, but
and
yeah.
T
She tries to pass
Stevens,
herself off as Irish.
T Stevens is belly laughing right now also. And Christy says, taking fashion notes tonight, LOL.
Oh, but Christy, you've got a nice little, sassy little look and body. You're fine. But when you start when you start hitting the late 40s and 50s, there's an issue that happens, and
Oh my
and
God.
she's got it.
Okay.
Well, not only that, she's buying the dresses like 2 sizes too small.
I know.
All right. Okay, folks, as you know, it's time for me to take a break or I'm going to fall off this chair. So we're going to come back on the second half and talk about an election in Ohio that gave the Democrats some hope. But we'll be back on the other side. We're watching State of Things with Aisha and Jill, aka the Aisha and Jill comedy tour for 2021. And we'll be back in just a moment. Hang tight. Keep it locked. So, ladies, what is going on?
Just that he needs to get it together.
Sick of that. I am sick of it.
Something is seriously wrong with you.
Why is he still there?
She shouldn't be near Congress.
You need an exorcism, because I don't know what is wrong with you people.
It was so powerful.
And I really wish everybody would stop bowing down to this.
What is he talking about? This makes no sense.
They know they are not the oppressed party, but they love being the superior ones, and they want to flaunt it.
So it was always made political, particularly for people of color and the LGBTQ population.
We end off every episode with a cockroach. This episode's cockroach.
Everything.
Everything?
All the things are going on.
All the things?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I've always noticed, but I noticed in that promo at the end, is it beside my head? There's a cockroach.
Yeah, it's beside my head, I think.
I think it's
beside
me.
mine.
Yeah, I know. Say, there's a cockroach there. Oh my goodness! So we're back for the second half of State of Things with Aisha and Jill, August 7, 2021. Black Beauty has a comment. Googling bodycon dresses.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So let's
I had
go
to pass
back.
the baton on mine. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's continue on. The outcome of Ohio Democratic Party to fill seat vacated by Marcia Fudge, who joined the Biden administration. Aisha, you brought that one up. Let's talk about it.
So Chantel? Yeah, Chantel Brown was in a primary against Nina Turner, and Chantel Brown won on Tuesday.
And what's the significance?
It was a highly competitive race, and it was, there was so much to it. Just the drama and really there were a lot of outside people with interest in Ohio on this race, and I think it's mostly because the thought is, they don't want to lose this seat to a Republican, period. Because it is a Democratic seat, and they want to keep it Democratic, and the Republicans have got to be spending a lot of money on trying to win that seat that has Democrats so rattled about it.
And people weren't sure of Nina Turner because of her past links with her issue with Hillary, and then her issue with Bernie and all this stuff. But Bernie came and supported her. But the one thing is that a lot of the younger people in the Democratic Party want non-establishment Democrats, and that's what I kind of feel, that if it's not going to happen overnight, but it can happen slowly, and that will happen just because of generational change. Right. That is where it will ultimately end up. I didn't have a problem with Nina Turner. I know she had a problem with endorsing Hillary when Hillary was running against Donald Trump. Everybody was mad because Nina decided to back Jill Stein. But you've got to understand, I look at Nina Turner as this activist, which she is, and she had a lot of power. And Hillary cozied up to her and pulled her away from Bernie Sanders because she used to be very much into Bernie Sanders. And then what is interesting to me about this is, as Aisha says, it's a definite seat that Democrats really want to keep. And so anyway, a bunch of stuff went down and Nina turned on Hillary. And then people are still holding her accountable because she didn't really think that Hillary was the best. I think she was supporting Bernie. Something like that happened. But see, my problem with this is people always want to say, okay, Hillary should have been president or whatever. But let's not forget, the DNC did something really shady to Bernie Sanders. And they took over where, by all accounts, in 2016, it really looked like Bernie could have actually done it. And if it was pushed in that direction. But Hillary played it so well. And what will always bother me is that she had Debbie Wasserman involved, and she also had Donna Brazile involved with however they changed stuff. And then what's his face, Clyburn. So those are old establishment people. And, you know, if we ended up with Donald Trump anyway, in my mind, they read it wrong. She didn't want to participate properly anyway and go to certain places she needed to go. So I think Hillary should have faced the fact even earlier on that her star was waning. And, you know, I'll always be funny about that because I voted for Bernie in the primary. And I really felt that it was his window. I do think people would have come on board. But so now this whole thing with taking over with poor Nina Turner not being in and Chantel, you know, Chantel was bought and paid for. She had a ton of money. They accused Nina of having dark money, but not with those outfits. You know, it's like.
But Nina Turner, for the record, on their reporting, had more money than Chantel's campaign did.
She did. She totally did. But what was funny, I had friends who were doing canvassing there, and there were so many who my friends were meeting were saying that they wanted Nina to win. And they were going and they were voting. And it was like kind of strange, however, that played out. They also said there were some issues with the polls there, closing early, locations changing. I don't know how accurate all of that is, but Chantel is bought and paid for. She's another Kamala. And what frightens me the most about this is that the establishment Democrat women who are African American or of that descent stall for me. I don't see any fire in them. I'm only seeing it with the progressive Black women, not with the other ones coming in with Joe Biden support. There's something funky about them. There's something that's not sitting right. The other girls, Cori Bush, all of them are laid out on there, making sure that, you know, the moratorium, the eviction, everything. I'm digging those girls, but I'm not getting it with the ones who are coming through that whole route, you know, and I don't think they're allowing Jamie, the head of the DNC, to do what he needs to be doing and the way he won his own stuff. I don't think they're allowing it. And Stacey Abrams is rather quiet at the moment, which is interesting.
Well, you know, I think this is what I think. I actually think that Chantel is a wild card here because even though she won with the help of the establishment Democrats, but that's like, it's kind of like, say, if I was going to try and win a congressional race in Connecticut, say Rosa DeLauro left,
right,
and I was going to go for that seat, I would definitely go with the establishment Democrats because that is the only way that I could win that seat in my state. But you best believe that when I get there, it's going, you know, I'm going to be progressive just because one of the things I learned from my grandfather, who was in politics, is that sometimes how you get there is not necessarily how you have to be. With Nina Turner, the space was so the the atmosphere was so absorbed with the negativity and and reporters reporting on the comments that Chantel's voice really got drowned out. And this is why I call her a wild card, because really she's had the other people speak for her. She hasn't yet.
That's what I didn't like.
She hasn't yet spoken for herself. And I think the reason that she may be being quiet is I'm willing to give it a chance, because I think that she may be being quiet for that reason. Now she has to win the race. Once she wins the race, then she's going to speak a lot. Dr. Vibe, you're on mute.
I know I'm good. No, I think that's perfectly said. And it doesn't sound like to say anything else, but the races go on in 2022 midterms.
Yeah, but what I want to say is that, they always seem to pick Black female Democrats that aren't a threat to American people. Nina Turner, okay, she's cute, but then it's like the way they groom this other, it's all of that. And I didn't like the fact that she didn't show up for her fight. There was no, she stayed back and there were too many people speaking for her. And that's not someone that we need in the office. And we'll see. I think she'll be as useless as everybody else has been. They were afraid of Nina Turner. She had big things. Nina Turner told them early on, with her switch from Bernie to Hillary to everybody else, that her allegiance is not stuck solely on a party. She goes with what she goes with. And on that note, I'm down for that, because that's what we need. I don't need your allegiance to be for the party. What is that anymore? Nina Turner was the rebel. She was about ready to turn the table upside down and had no problem calling out her fellow Democrats or a Republican that wasn't doing something good for the will of the people. And that should be what Cori Bush did. We're all of them. But women like that scare white Democrats and they scare white Republicans. And in a really weird way, they scare the bougie Black people who are in our party. We got some bougie people up in there. And we need to stop that. I was not down with that. We don't need people who let other people. Maybe it was the smarter way to play the role for Chantel. But the minute she won, I was like, bought and paid for. And that's what I told her. You were bought and paid for, essentially, because she was groomed into such a way. Nina's a little rough around the edges. But those are the Black women that America doesn't like. They're afraid of them. Shirley Chisholm used to do that too.
Very true.
But one of the best jobs I ever had, I didn't know this until the first day when some other people started talking to me. My boss told them that, we filled someone for the position, and she's just so straight and narrow and very, very conservative. And I went in there and flipped the script and was just and she was like, I was like, not what she expected. But then I was able to help them get some legislation passed for the first time in a long time, because that is that. I did what I needed to do to get the job. So here's the thing with Chantel. Is she doing what she's doing to get the job? What she needs to do to get the job? We don't. The thing is that we don't know until we really get to hear her speak. And I think that she will start to speak more.
How do you vote for somebody that never spoke? I think that's a stupid way to vote. Dumb. And for some reason, they told her not to speak, probably because she'll sound really stupid. You see, that's what's really crazy to me. How do you do that?
Either she'll sound really stupid, or she'd sound exactly like Nina Turner. And for that reason,
she's not going to do that.
The thing is that you don't know, because she doesn't speak. She might, if she spoke for herself, sound like Nina Turner, and because Nina Turner had the popularity, she would have lost.
I don't really see that happening, but we'll see.
All right. So Black Beauty says, let's face it, even the Ohio Democratic Party only want a yes master type female holding that seat. They're just not ready for a Ms. Turner true progressive mindset.
Yeah, they're not.
And Christy is saying, they're very complacent.
Yeah.
So let's go on to our next conversation piece.
You know what I will be very interested in, I'll have to look at, is demographics of that district to know what's the age group, the most reliable voting bracket, how old, the average age of the constituency.
Okay.
There.
Well, if we're going to deal with somebody who never talked, then we need to open up the field for candidates who are deaf. Who, if people can sit up there and need to have to, we need to open those spheres too. You know, but we still have things about looks and how things are and all this other kind of stuff here in America. And I caught the vibe on that. They don't want, she was too black for them. That's why she and bougie black people voted for the other one too, because of their bouginess.
Okay. Let's move on to Tokyo Olympics update. I guess two things we can talk about. I think the first one is a minor one. The U.S. men won the gold medal in basketball after being thought that they never, a lot of people said, wow, they lost to France in their first game of the tournament, and they came back and won. And then Simone Biles returned. So comments about the U.S. men in basketball first, if anyone hasn't.
Well, basketball is what I watch. So
cool.
you guys do tennis, I do basketball.
Okay.
The women's USA game is on in 10 minutes.
Yes.
So hopefully they will win. And I think they will, because they have won, what is it now, 55 straight games?
Yes.
So
well, I think also too, the interesting fact is Kevin Durant is probably now the best basketball player in the world. I think it's sort of, you know, and it blows my mind. And they were taking stabs at media people. They were saying that they weren't going to win. There's been posts on Instagram that they're getting back on people who say, oh, when they lost their first game, oh, this team. That I think there's an Instagram post on Kevin Durant's IG feed of Draymond Green, who is known for trash talking, members of the media, specific members of the media, saying, so yeah, you didn't think we win, eh? And I think he had one or two cuss words for them and was laughing away, etc. And I think also what happened to the U.S. women's soccer team not coming through again. That was a big thing. And have to say, hail up to the Jamaican women in sprints.
Yes. I'm telling you, if you're rooting for women's basketball tonight, everybody's talking about Sue Bird, but they need to be talking about Brittany Griner.
Yes,
right.
He's on it with those rebounds and that 7-foot wingspan. You know,
man, check out hoops, staggers.
I know, who knew?
She just like right into her hoops. Bam, bam. All right, but
I mean, the women's soccer team. If I have to talk about them, they just didn't bring their players. They didn't bring it, and I just think that I don't know. I think they overestimated themselves because Sweden was they've gotten all the fame and claim on it, everything.
Is it Abby Wambach that's been a member was saying that they just really didn't bring their game, that there's something not clicking during the tournament. So it's not a complete surprise. But let's talk about Ms. Biles. She came back and did one last performance on the beam. She got a bronze medal. So the question is, for both you ladies, what did you think of her coming back, and what do you think her future is? Because she did do an interview on NBC the other day saying she's still leaving open the possibility of coming back for the next Olympics, which would make her 28 years old.
Right.
Well, it was funny because people were on her because she quit. Then they got on her because she only won bronze. She got a medal. One of the things that I've learned in the last week is that right around the time that she did decide not to go and she had the twirlies was because she also lost a family member. And I think it was like a grandparent while she was in Tokyo.
Got it. Any comments from you, Jill, in regards to Ms. Biles coming back?
I mean, if she can do it at 28, I know Nadia Comaneci tried. Everybody tries a little bit older. It's a little bit more difficult, I think. But I don't know, Simone, on that level, as far as like with the twisties, I think they're going to have to, you know, see medically what her deal is. I mean, the thing about keeping people holding on is you don't want to give up your endorsements now, and different things that she has. Should somebody come along better, I'm sure she'll still compete until she can't anymore. But I think it was a big letdown for people who were excited to see her. I really do. And maybe toying with coming back and not doing it, maybe that just made people a little more raw about it, and I think that people like to be vested. Maybe it's like either you're in or you're out.
I don't think, if I'm her, she doesn't have anything else to prove. She came.
Right. I don't think she needs to go back again.
She doesn't need to go back again and again. To come back in 4 years, that's another 4 years of grinding.
But you guys got to remember, she was the favorite, and every advertising agency in the world has been pushing this. Do you know the amount of ads?
Yes.
I think probably some of the contractual agreements might have been the reason that she stayed, because some of those things can just move, because there's a lot of things like, well, if you're not there, why are they going to be running ads for every single break during the Olympics? There was some business involved in these decisions.
Probably true.
I think so.
No, and also let's remember too, Toyota backed out of running ads before the game started.
Right. So something was going on, right?
Right. So absolutely. Yeah. T. Stevens says, congratulations to Sydney McLaughlin in setting the world record in the 400
Wasn't that
hurdles.
Great?
Yes.
I love hurdles.
And also, and Edwin Moses's record finally going down after 33 years. Wow. Amazing. And I think one of the biggest hail-outs we have to give is a lady named Alexson Felix.
Oh, yes.
Moments after winning the 4x400 meter relay.
She was a baby.
Yes. She has won 11 medals in the Olympic Games in her history.
Amazing.
She is a mother getting her last medal.
She was the one who helped all the other women be able to breastfeed and bring their babies to. Yes. She started that sort of movement inside with the Olympic Committee, because they weren't letting them. And, it was like, what's going to happen to these babies who need to be breastfed? And I'm like looking at her like, damn, I was tired when I was breastfeeding. I couldn't have gone out and run around the block, let alone as far as she's running.
Let me tell you, if I wasn't nursing that baby, I was pumping. So it's like
exactly.
I was doing something.
And you don't want all your good pumping work that you've built up to go to hell, because I understand. We'll bring the baby, because I don't want to you're still pumping to try to keep on point with that. But did you guys see when Carl Lewis was making comments about the men's relay?
He was ripping apart the men's relay. Well, and hey, he's an who better?
Yeah, he's right. He said their change-offs were terrible.
Yeah,
they wasted a lot of time. But I gotta say that
they've always had that issue, though. They've always had that challenge. From what I've been doing some investigation,
Dr. Vibe, the American team in general, I think the way that they pass off the baton is totally stupid. It's not the most efficient way.
It's not fluid.
It's not. They're standing there waiting, and technically, and
you should be like this
forward, and you're like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
so they've always done that, and it's like the rest of the world is doing it the other way, and they're more efficient. It just means you have to be so focused and trust your partner. That's what the
women's relay
is about.
Yep. The women's relay, bam. Blue Rain saying, does anyone know if she has more medals than any other gymnast? Blue Rain is that's Simone. I mean, I know she's tied as the most medals for an American gymnast. I think I'll see if I can find out that information. I'm not going to quote. I'll see if I can find out before we go off air on that, if she has more medals than any other gymnast. I'm not 100% on that one, but let's see if we can find that information before we leave. But let's go to our next story, and one will bring a smile to both ladies' faces.
Mm-hmm. I like
Barack Obama's 60th birthday party today.
I like that he invited people to his party to make it smaller. I said, who had to do that? Who had the job to tell people they couldn't come?
Well, I feel kind of bad that he did that, only because, and I think the reason that he mostly did it was because of people complaining without people really understanding that it's like, do you know how big 30 acres is?
Yeah, but it doesn't take that much, That's the whole thing. it is kind of like the rich person while everybody's poor and you are flaunting your wealth. So the same thing with health measures. I think it's the same thing. People don't do well with it and they'll just be ready for him. And I guess he just said, am I up to having all this people coming for my family again, my kids,
right.
It's not worth it. I'm telling you, the people here are pazzi pazzo.
Well, it's interesting, and just taking a look at the story we have up on the screen here. It says Beyonce and Jay-Z made the final guest list, but Larry David and Conan O'Brien weren't so lucky.
Right, exactly.
So,
but, c'est la vie.
He's that type of guy. He's that type of guy, He is definitely that type of guy. But Mr. Obama, a happy birthday to you.
Yes,
I know
happy birthday.
Enjoy the party tonight.
Yes, there's many.
I'm still wondering why I wasn't invited. Damn,
well, this is
cool. The supporters. No, I'm really happy. I think he's amazing. And, having all those people, it's a lot. It's just a lot.
Yeah, and I think though he would have took a lot of flack.
Oh, here, yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
People come for him every day if they get a chance. It's just too much. And sometimes, is that the way you want to welcome your, new decade in? It's kind of like, it's maybe better to do it this way. And I'm sure he's going to have a good time anyway.
Oh yeah, he invited 100 of his closest celebrity friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
They're going to have great music and
Okay. So I'm just taking a look right now.
And at least he didn't use any of the money that he earned from the people to pay for that house. That was all Michelle's book sales.
Yeah.
Okay. Just an update on Blue. Your question about which medal leaders. Well, in women's gymnastics, the leader is a lady named Larisa Latinia from the Soviet Union from years 1956, 1960, and 1964. She has won a total of 18 Olympic medals.
Wow.
9 gold, 5 silver, 4 bronze. Simone Biles is, believe it or not, in 9th place. She has won 4 gold, 1 silver, and 2 bronze. So she has 7. So she's the most medaled female American gymnast. Gymnastics. The next closest to her is a lady named Shannon Miller.
I remember Shannon Miller.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
96 Olympics.
Yeah. And the lady after that is Ali Reisman. And then Mary Lou Retton. Mary Lou Retton. So Simone is the most decorated, probably American female gymnast when it comes to Olympic medals, but she's got a long way to go to catch up to the total. So let's see what else. No problem, Blue Rains. My pleasure. Thanks. So I could get that for you in real time. All right. Our last conversation story tonight. The state of Arkansas. And again, we're going to bring up the video here. And again, Aisha was on fire. When we asked for stories this afternoon, ping, 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 ping. Like my DMs are going off like fire. Aisha had this. So let's bring up this story. Let's increase the screen and let's go here. Here we go.
During the pandemic, my lifestyle drastically changed. My income came to a screeching halt. You have to understand, I'm a hustler. I'm a legit entrepreneur. I sell things. I come in contact with people all the time. I have to stay safe. I didn't have a choice but to trust the vaccine. And if you live the type of lifestyle that I live, you out here in these streets, and you hustling, an entrepreneur like me, why not do it safely? So I want everybody to take this seriously. Take a shot at staying healthy. Get the vaccine.
Okay, Aisha, why?
The reason I say this is because I went and looked at whether or not the state of Arkansas had other commercials targeting other communities that are not getting vaccinated at an even higher rate than their Black population is not. And there were none. I mean, there were no people in MAGA hats saying, I know Trump won and all for real, but I didn't, I got vaccinated. whatever kind of BS. So I think Arkansas can do better in their outreach, because it's not just, the message here is that it's just the Black folks that need to be vaccinated. And I think that they could have done better and had a whole thing. I know they were trying to reach out to the common person. But it's I mean, honestly, it's the kind of commercial that you hope, well, I don't know if I want to say hope for, but you kind of like, hope that more companies aim for when talking about this disease, common people on the street. And they literally got somebody from the streets for this one.
Exactly.
But I for me, whenever I see a man do this and he's talking about what he does for a living, I always am questionable about it. But I thought that the fact that this was the one that they decided to go with to release today was kind of like, okay, well, where are the rest?
Any comments on that, Jill?
Well, I feel very differently about this one. I feel that, after hearing the impassioned plea of the governor of Arkansas the other day about people not getting vaccinated, I think, number one, that they're doing the best they can, as much as they're trying to now. But the other thing is, I also feel like this is a directed segmentation, like they have other ones. And we may be offended with how it's presented, but it doesn't mean the cake doesn't look like it should for that party. Because we're talking about, I think people in America, we're getting too sensitive maybe to really identify what's really going on, like who the audience is. Mm-hmm. And if you're offended by that, then you can say to I'm not the audience, obviously. But Arkansas has that audience. These are like advertising agencies and data collectors that scour neighborhoods and regions, everybody, and they know who they're targeting. They're too specific these days. If the issue is more like, wow, I didn't know Arkansas was really like that. So if they want to live with what that is, because that's who they are, it may not relate to us, but they have to be able to try to speak the language of the people that it's happening in. And let's be honest, the conspiracy theories in the Black community are rife. I talked to somebody today who talked to me about aliens, the cabal, and stuff that's on Netflix. And there were some interesting things in the topic, but we're dealing with it is a virus in itself, and it's happening. So if that was a conversation I had, where did that person go today in their conversation world to somebody else who's going to take it and spread it? It's a problem. And yet this is who the audience is. They're hustlers and they know. And I also think that we have not seen significant growth in the Black community with these shots across America, hands down. It's still rather low, and they're the ones getting wiped the hell out. You got to remember, if they're long haulers, who the hell's going to take care of you? It's like, dude, you're a diabetic. I mean, you got to address this stuff. Who's going to look after you if you live in a racist country? And everybody, can I just say this? Everybody has all these home remedies, all these things you're supposed to get. For someone that I know who has it, I've practically spent $1,000 buying every damn piece of herbs, bananas, the smoothies, the this, the that, the that. What happens to the people who can't afford it once they're diagnosed with it to get the stuff to take care of at home? So for me, people aren't weighing their options realistically. The stuff is expensive if you want to go the holistic route. It really is. And you better have the coins to do it. They come in little packages like this and they're $50. This is what's making me crazy, because people just willy-nilly say stuff. And when you're making a decision in life, you have to really assess your life, what you can afford, what you can master, what your threats are, what the bonuses are. Because then if you're sitting at home and you can't work, you have a problem. Who's going to cover that? Bad decisions create more problems for you. And you're trying to do all of this, and also you know that you're being targeted. Maybe some of the target is because you're making bad decisions.
You know, one of the things that I thought when I first saw this was the thought of how originally, not only did the Biden administration politicize COVID, but they racialized it as well. And so,
Absolutely.
and so they made it seem like it was only Black and Latino people who were getting it and dying from it. And so
Yeah.
every time when I looked at this commercial, and I looked at it about 3 or 4 times today, that is when I didn't see other commercials targeting communities. They have other commercials, but not specifically targeting communities. That to me, it again reinforces that message. So people, when they see that commercial, rather than just saying, oh yeah, you know, it's another ad. It's like it's an ad for those people, and it means that this does not affect me. But meanwhile, these people are out here making us sicker. And that worries me a lot. And I think Arkansas, and just looking at their campaign to, and like you said, the governor she's on her last leg here. She wants some help.
I know.
But she wants some help now.
Right.
Remember how she was before.
You know, we also have things like people saying, well, I was looking on the VAERS report, and you know that VAERS is the overview if you have
we talked about
side effects, and we talked about this before. But just because it's written there that somebody's saying that they've had a side effect to something doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually affiliated with that actual illness or that vaccine or whatever they took. There are other ramifications, and we have cyber agencies looking to infiltrate us and destroy our trust. You have to be very careful. And
VAERS
just
is not
because you
official.
have Google, VAERS is not official.
It's done by somebody in their basement who thinks that they're a statistician, and they really are not aggregating the data correctly. They're looking at all,
and they're wasting a lot of money and time, because every single one of those complaints will be checked out.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it's going to just be nonsense, and people who are working for a political arm who are trying to spread misinformation because they've either invested in stock for an alternative drug, or they've decided, there's so many reasons, because capitalism in its worst form has actually helped foster this, all of it. The self-servingness, you know, capitalism is really on its last legs as well. They can say democracy. I don't know how this is making sense anymore, but it's on its last legs too.
Well, just to close out here, I would say that democracy is on its last legs. Capitalism is thriving.
Yeah, capitalism is thriving. I meant to say democracy is on its last legs.
Capitalism is going to kill our democracy.
But it will.
It is. It is.
Will. It is.
It is. We're watching it. We're watching it right in front of our lives. Ladies, let's finish off. We're just gonna give some last comments here. Black Beauty saying, well, maybe Black people in Arkansas are easier to reach in the hard-hearted,
Hopefully.
45 POS crowd. Christy says, and what about long-term COVID effects? Many here are suffering from it. That's even longer sick, off work, and needing extra things that cost money.
Absolutely.
And then she also says no one has died of a side effect. People have died of COVID. I'd rather have side effects than death.
I agree. Thank you, Christy. This is true.
Well, all right.
Yeah. And like I say, I had one of the worst vaccination experiences. I went into anaphylaxis with the first shot. But guess what? It was over, and the EMTs checked me out, got epinephrine shot.
But I think
for
the safety of other people hearing this, you have to say that may have not been the reason you had anaphylactic. Because people will take what you just said and justify that for not taking it.
The second part of it was that I went into anaphylaxis within 7 seconds after receiving it. But after I was finished, I didn't feel sick or anything. And when I was asked, are you going to come back for the second shot? I was like, yeah, of course.
But the thing is, you have a history of anaphylactic shock.
Yeah, I do.
So that's what needs to preface that conversation, because unfortunately in all of our sharing, like, oh my God, this happened to me and this, nobody's also disclosing their medical problems, which are if you've had side effects, why they're going hand in hand. And we need to be a little more conscious of that when I say, oh, it just made me sleepy or it made me pass out.
I was very clear in going to my allergist about what was in it, and that there's something in it that is like a food derivative.
And you're allergic. You're allergic to lemons. I can't even give you a citrus a mojito.
No.
It'd take you out of here.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Well, you can't have citrus. No.
Oh my gosh.
No, I have to be careful but that's also a good thing to know. When you invite people to your house, it is very courteous to say, what are your dietary restrictions when you're having a little dinner party?
Because you can really, I mean,
it's true. We don't know. Peanuts.
Kill people. I can be at somebody's house and they have a bowl of peaches out somewhere.
Wow.
And I can all of a sudden start.
Oh my God.
See?
Because I can smell the peel.
Wow. Well, on that note, let's shut it down for tonight. First things first, I'd like to thank everyone who showed up. Jen, Black Beauty, Blue Rains, Cinema Canela, Black Beauty. Anyone else? Christy. Yes. Thank you so much for helping make it another epic conversation. And before we start shutting it out too, show alerts. So some updates. Folks, do not forget, August 21st, 9 p.m. We're still thinking it. We're still going to do it. We haven't pulled it back yet. But on the 21st, we're going to have an Ask Us Anything conversation. Looking forward to that. Very much. It's getting closer. We haven't run away from it yet. Also, if you have any show ideas, please email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. And as I said, one of the ideas we now got tonight is maybe doing a roundtable about Me Too and women. We have to have the conversation. We have to. So if you are interested in being one of the panelists, maybe Jen, maybe Christy, please get in touch with me or get in touch with the ladies. Also, too, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, and also at my website address, the drvibeshow.com. Now, let's get down to it. If you want to get in contact with Jill Jones, she'll tell you how you can do that.
I am at Jill D. Jones at Twitter, if you want to reach me.
All right, there it is on the screen. Next up, Aisha K. Staggers.
I am at Aisha Staggers on Twitter, capital AISHA, capital STAGGERS.
Wonderful. And myself, I am Dr. Vibe, if you don't know that as of yet. And if you want to get a hold of me, the best place to get a hold of me is at my website, thedrvibeshow.com. I'm also on Twitter at drvibeshow and Instagram at thedrvibeshow.com. So that is it for another epic conversation. I see we have we have some more conversations. And Christy is saying, yes, she wants to be part of the roundtable conversation about Me Too and women. So we've got another lady up, and she also says, great show again. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time, whether you're watching live or on the replay or listening on the replay. And Blue Rains, thank you. Thank you for being part. You helped make it a great show. As always, I want to leave off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Let me just take that off. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. Then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. And we'll see you soon. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe YouTube channel, or also on Facebook to find out when we'll be on next. We'll be on next weekend for sure. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good.